It is Classic Tabletop RPG Friday, and what that means is that we're going to get right back into our Classic Traveler RPG series. Now, we've been on Space Combat. We're going to do things a little different because we actually stopped in the middle of a game turn sequence last Friday. So today, we're going to pick up in the middle of that game turn sequence. And we're going to do something that I did not do the last time because it's just going to only get worse from here on for the Suleiman. That's all I'm going to tell you to kind of give you a 411 on what is about to come up. For those of you who are new to the channel, thanks for coming by. For those of you who are new subscribers, same thing. What's up, my elites and everybody in the hizzy? My name's Servant. This is RPG Elite. This is the place where I focus on putting the RP back into RPG. And how I do this is by giving you tools, tips, and like today, a deep dive tutorial or some real talk about the tabletop RPG space and culture. If you're going through this series, you're liking what you see, and you want to get into Traveler, do not forget down in the description below, there are links to go get copies of a PDF or the hardcover of this game or the many iterations that it has. Or if you just want to check it out just to really see what's up, they do have a free PDF facsimile version that you can go ahead and grab, and that link is also down in the description. Let's slide into this, finish up this sequence of space combat, and then on the other side, as always, question of the vid. So let's do it and roll! In the last video, we had two beam lasers that the Phineas Javelin returned fire with on the Suleiman. But remember, right down here, we got two laser turrets. And yes, we getting ready to use them. I did not use the double turret pulse lasers, which is what we are going to do right now. And with pulse lasers, there is a -1 DM to hit. That's the bad news. The good news is if you hit, you hit twice. You roll to hit twice, not once. At the end of the last video, the beam lasers hit 2 times because of the double turret. I have a potential to hit 4 times if I hit with both of these pulse lasers. So let's go ahead. Let's go like this. I'm going to go like this, and I'm going to do a -1 right there. So I'm going to need a 9 or higher in order to hit. So let's see what happens with our Phineas Javelin and pulse laser action. Oh man. Oh boy. So at this point, the Phineas Javelin has 4 hits on the Suleiman. So I got 1 more double turret. Remember, this is a bad day for the Suleiman. This was just not a smart idea. But let's go ahead and do 1 more and see if we can get another hit. Okay, so the second one doesn't hit. So the Phineas Javelin has 2 hits from beam lasers and 2 hits from 1 pulse laser. Now, if the Phineas Javelin was running an anti-missile program, that would go off in this part of the phase. So that's going to do it for the return fire phase. So we're going to go straight into the next phase. Next on the list is the Ordnance Launch phase. The only one who has ordnance is the Suleiman. And I'm going to take a look at the old school card here, which is what it has. And I'm just going to do it like this to make it a whole lot bigger. So if you go down here, remember it has 5 missiles on board, which means it can launch it. Now, it cannot launch it in this phase because it didn't have its launch program running, because you need the launch program to run. But for the sake of example, we're just going to go through this so you know how to do it if you do run a launch program and got some missiles on board. So let's say that the Suleiman was launching some missiles. So I'm gonna go like this. And put a missile over here. There we go. And to make this look good, we're just gonna put it about right there. So the Suleiman has a missile, and the missile is gonna be separate from the Suleiman. You can launch one missile or one sandcaster, depending on which one you have, per rack. If you have a single turret with missile launchers in it, then you can launch one. If you have two, you can launch two. If you have three, you can launch three. Now the missile has movement, and the movement is 6G. So it can move 6G acceleration pretty fast. Sandcasters are a little different. They move at the velocity of whatever your ship was running at, since it's just sand just kind of going out there and causing interference. Now, if you're launching missiles from a launcher, it will hold 3 missiles or 3 canisters if it's a sandcaster. If you have a double turret, it will hold 6. If you have a triple turret, it will hold 9. So for each slot, it can hold up to 3. In this phase, ordnance that was launched in the previous phase and made it to the same range band as the target would detonate now in the ordnance launch phase. If a missile detonates, then what happens is you roll 1d6. So if I were to just take this missile and we're gonna go all the way over here, right? And we're just gonna say that it hit the Phineas Javelin, boom. Let's say it hit. So what you would do next is you roll 1d6. This is for how many hits the missile gets on the ship. Yeah, they're pretty nasty. 4 hits. So it would get the same amount of hits that the Phineas Javelin got against it with beam lasers and pulse lasers. However, this is not what actually happens in this. This is just for example purposes. When reloading, it takes 1 turn to reload 1 rack. So if you've got a single turret, it'll take 1 turn. If you've got a double turret, it will take 2 turns. If you've got a triple turret, it'll take 3 turns. And normally, it's the gunner that's doing that. But again, this is not what actually happens. This is just for example purposes. We're just going to delete that missile. Because what actually happened is just that the Phineas Javelin hit the Suleiman 4 times. The Suleiman didn't have launch running, and so it doesn't get to launch. But now you know how missiles and sandcasters would work if they were being launched. So the last step is computer programming, and this is going to be for the attacking ship. The Suleiman is going to have an opportunity to switch out its computer programs for the next turn when the roles are reversed, where the intruder becomes a native and the native becomes the intruder. So I'm going to open up the data card here. And we see that the model of the computer is 2. So it can only have 2 running at the same time. And this number on the side lets you know how much processing space that it takes up in the CPU, which is why it could only run a predict and a target for this turn. But it's going to switch out for the next turn and do some auto evade and some return fire. So those are the only 2 that it could run. Now, if it wanted to run anti-missile, that would be the only one it could run because its CPU can only handle 2 and anti-missile takes 2. So having a powerful computer helps. All right, let's do a quick recap of the 5 steps in a turn. First is movement. So you move your ship, or if any missiles were launched in the previous phase, then you move those, or your sandcaster canisters, or where those things are deployed. All of that is done in the movement phase. The next part is a laser fire. It says laser fire because that is for whatever the attacking ship is. They are going to go ahead and fire their lasers, whether it be beam or pulse lasers. You're going to calculate all DMs, so all offensive and all defensive DMs, and then you're going to roll to hit the target, which is the native or the intruder. After that is laser return fire. If you have the laser return fire computer software running, you can return laser fire. Also, if you have your anti-missile fire program running, you can do that in this part of the turn as well. Next is an ordnance launch. You can launch missiles and sandcaster canisters in this part of the turn. If you launched missiles previously in the previous turn and they actually make it into the same space as the target ship or range band, then it will explode during this phase. And if you want to launch things like lifeboats and ship's vehicles, they will be launched during this phase. And the last thing that you want to do is do your computer reprogramming, because you want to prepare for the roles to be switched. So whoever was the intruder becomes the native, and whoever was the native becomes the intruder, and we go through this all over again, and that basically is how it goes back and forth. If we're looking at space combat here, obviously missiles are nasty. Potentially. They are potentially nasty. You can potentially hit 6 times with a missile. So if you're on a roll, well, literally on a roll, I mean, you're rolling dice, and you get a 5 or a 6, man, one missile can do like much damage. Unless the other ship has anti-missile, and then, okay, well, that battle can go on for a little while, right? Right. Hey, if you got any value out of this video, learn something new, makes you want to go and play a little bit of Traveler, can you do a brother a solid? Can you crush the like button? Whoa. Also, if you want to stick around, y'all, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. God willing, I come out with videos every Tuesday and Friday. Let's get to the question of the vid today, which is, if you had to choose your commander-in-chief to lead you into battle, who would it be for space combat? Now, you know, you have a plethora of people that you can have at the helm leading you into space combat. It could be from a television program, novel, movie, whatever. Let me know, who do you want at the helm leading you? Who would you trust to get you through some of the most hairy space combat situations? So let's see what's up, y'all, down in the comments below. That will be it for me, y'all. You know what that means? That means a brother has to do a snuggle puss.
So exit, stage left.
If you got a game this weekend, happy gaming, y'all. I pray it is an RPG Elite session. I hope you have a wonderful one. So until next time, God willing, yep, it's that time. Our brothers just gotta say peace. 5,000 elites. I'm outie.